everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. And we are really excited today. We have one of our favorite guests with us, and we are here to talk about the Sugar Plum Twist. It's a fun movie that first aired on Hallmark Movies Now, and then was on Hallmark Movies and Mysteries this last weekend. And I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Lilah Fitzgerald is here.
Hi,
everybody. Lilah, thank you so much for coming back on the podcast.
Well, thank you for inviting me back. I always love it.
Yeah, you were on Deliver Me a Podcast, I think, in the summer, I think. But you haven't been on, I don't think, our podcast since we had you on for a watch along, which was super fun, of Darren. Yeah, if people don't know, our patrons get a watch along where we invited talent like Lilah, and we watch one of their films, and you get all the behind the scenes details, and that was very fun. And then we had you on for the other dance movie, the oh shoot, now I can't think of the name all of a sudden, but we had you on at the beginning of the year.
Yes, that one was amazing.
With Luke McFarlane and Alexa Penavega and everything. So that was really fun. And so when I saw that this was Sugar Plum Twist was ballet related, I thought, oh, we got to have you on. So
well, I always love a ballet movie.
Yes, so do I. I love a dance movie. I mean, I've always loved Dirty Dancing. I love this, got Step Up movies. There's so many good ones. But yeah, this looked like an interesting film, and I'm excited to get to talk about it. But before we do that, we got to get an update. What has your 2021 been like?
Well, it's been a busy year. I actually, for, the past dance season of, September to about June of last year, I was in a ballet company myself. And then after that, I just got so busy with auditions through the summer, I realized I had to prioritize my acting. And so took a step back from ballet and ended up in 2 productions for film this fall that are really, really exciting. It's Monster High on Nickelodeon and Devil in Ohio, which will be on Netflix.
Oh, Netflix. That's exciting.
Yeah, and I was also in March, while also being in a ballet company, I was in the movie Honey Girls, which was by Build-A-Bear Entertainment and Sony Pictures, and it was just absolutely amazing. I loved it.
I want to catch up with that. I have not been able to see it because I just have been so busy with awards and with Christmas movies, but I really want to see it because of not only you, but Cindy and a lot of other of our favorites are in that one.
It was such a beautiful movie. Trey Fanjoy is a genius and created something really magical.
That's so cool. And so you're actually in 2 series with Devil in Ohio and Monster High?
So Monster High is a musical that will be coming to Nickelodeon in 2022. And Devil in Ohio, I'm guest starring in that series, yes, in 2022.
Oh, that's so cool. That's cool. Did you just filmed your auditions for them from home for those ones?
Yeah, with COVID, there's really no in-person auditions right now. So pretty much everything is just a self-tape from my bedroom, which is nice. I get to just do my thing. You get to see all my outtakes on my Instagram.
Yeah, I feel like I would do better with that than the in-person auditions.
There's definitely pros and cons to both. I find that I work well under pressure. So when I am walking into an in-person director-producer session, final round, it really kicks me into gear and gets me going and performing 100%. But at the same time, when you're in your bedroom and you get to take your own time with it, it's nice because you can really make it your own and have the time to be like, I want to tweak that a little bit. I want to go again. Although sometimes I find that, the first take, the one you get right away, sometimes is the best one because it's just natural in what happens in the moment.
Yeah, I would believe that. That makes sense to me. I always found auditioning to be the most stressful. I mean, just when I was in high school doing plays and stuff, I always found auditioning to just be so nerve-wracking.
Well, what's really hard now is everything is happening over Zoom, which is
Mhm.
nice that we have that option. But I just recently did a chemistry read over Zoom. And although it was fun and I'm glad that they're making those things still work, it's hard because chemistry is human connection
Yeah,
and
exactly.
we're over a screen.
Yeah, and you just finished Monster High, right? Just in December.
Just recently, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That's that is exciting. Very exciting. So you finished school?
Yes, I actually graduated high school early, so that I could, really get going with acting so that I could be
Mhm.
legal 18. They call it. That's when you finish school so that you don't have to do school on set and you can work longer hours and all that. So I got high school out of the way as soon as I could.
Yeah, don't blame you. I mean, especially when, last year when it was all at home anyway, might as well just graduate early.
Yeah, a lot of people just kind of buckled down last year, I think.
Yeah, I graduated early. So I know what that's like. I my family moved my senior year of high school. And so I didn't want to start a whole new high school just for 1 year. And so I just started going to community college for my senior year of high school. And then yeah, so I basically graduated early. So
Yeah, I
it
was
was fun.
homeschooled whole life, so made it pretty easy for me.
Right. Well, that's cool. Congratulations. I am very happy for you. So
You.
yes, this movie, The Sugar Plum Twist, and I'll read you the little summary. It's after failing to get the coveted role of the Sugar Plum Fairy in this year's production of The Nutcracker, Viviana Serrano joins forces with Talia to create a surprise reprise of the Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy with a Latin twist. So, what did you overall think about this movie?
I thought it was really amazing. The thing that I loved most about it was that they really brought to attention the boxes that classical ballet puts us into,
Uh-huh.
because ballet is a world of tradition and it is a world run by people who are not letting anyone who is even slightly different break out into it. And that's something that I've really seen as a ballerina, and something that's pushed me away from the art form is that most major companies treat their dancers terribly and don't really let them be artists. They force them to be ideals that no one can live up to without burning themselves out. So I
Yeah.
liked getting to see Natalia have a vision to change that, and that Vivi got to come into the company as someone being themselves and dancing as an artist, not a puppet.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, how you felt about it, because on one hand, I can see that if I'm going to see the Nutcracker on Thursday, and I would be really annoyed if I went to the Nutcracker and it was all of a sudden this new thing, unless they advertised it as such. And so I knew, but if I bought my tickets expecting to see the Nutcracker, I would be annoyed if it was all of a sudden this like new take or whatever, I guess. And so it must be hard for them because I'm sure some want to break out, but the expectations of the audience, because like there is an expectation about ballet.
Exactly. That's the thing that, is a delicate balance. Is ballet is beautiful in its classic form, and you don't have to change how classic it is without letting people of different ethnicities and people of different body types take part in it. And the Nutcracker especially, is really a racist ballet, because if you look at it, you have the Chinese dance that is all just filled with, stereotypes of how Chinese people dance. And then you have Arabian, which is also filled with stereotypes. And you have Spanish, which is filled with stereotypes. And I think without breaking forward in boundaries in ballet, we can't move into a world where ballet can actually recognize its dancers and their histories and everything without, forcing them into racial stereotypes.
Yeah,
And especially when you cast white dancers to play the Chinese tea and the Arabian coffee, that's a huge problem.
true. It's a good point. It's a good point. So you have in this movie, you have Natalia, who is played by Jamie Gray Hyder, and she is coming back from the city. This is our classic dynamic of the city girl coming back to the country, to the small studio. And she just got kind of burnt out, as you say. And she was in the city working as a choreographer instead of a dancer at a certain point. And then she sees Viviana auditioning, and she kind of has a connection. They two have a connection. And Viviana is played by Lara Roscoer. And yeah, what did you think about Natalia's character?
I really liked Natalia's character. I liked seeing them cast a woman moving into a choreographic position, because that's another issue that you see a lot. Although women are the faces of ballet, really they're held back behind the scenes. And oftentimes, even if you have someone like Miss Cat in charge, they will still only hire male choreographers. Like we see that Natalia is pushed into the assistant position, even though she has bright ideas. And that happens so much in ballet. I feel like this movie really, without fully making that the focal point of the movie, really touched on all the issues that you find in ballet. So I loved getting to see Natalia move into a choreographic position and really stand her ground. And, even though she still struggles with it, saying that she wants to be a choreographer, I really liked seeing that, instead of just oftentimes once ballerinas are injured, they're forced into just a teaching position.
Yeah. Yeah. It must be pretty almost as competitive to get those choreography positions as it is to get the dancing positions.
Honestly, it's even more, especially when you're a woman. And especially if you're a woman of color, it's almost impossible for you to be taken seriously as anything other than, a sylph in the background of Giselle or something.
That is crazy. Yeah. So they show them the auditioning. They need to find a new Sugar Plum Fairy, and the auditioning process with them all doing the routines and everything. Did you feel like that was pretty accurate to an audition, or not so much?
Absolutely, especially when Meredith comes and tries to psych Vivi out. That's, a scene that you see all the time in ballet auditions. I'll walk in to a room and it's chock full of ballerinas, and they'll make eye contact with you, and sometimes they won't say anything. Most times they'll just go into like a deeper stretch, lift their leg above their ear, turn 3 pirouettes on point, and then turn and look at you. It's cutthroat. Ballet companies like that too. They like us to not form connections, because as soon as you say, hey, it's not good for us all to hate each other and view each other as competition instead of fellow dancers, there would be an uprising.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they really do show in this movie the competition between the different dance studios. Like you said, Meredith is all catty at the festival, and and she's like, your studio was so cute, kind of thing. She's very
Absolutely.
yeah. And I mean, I'm sure that is like for any competitive sport, that's going to happen.
Absolutely. I mean, the girls who've had the training at prestigious ballet schools since they were 3 years old have been trained from a young age to view themselves as better than the girls who start late or have a different body type or went to a small town studio. And that's been ingrained into them.
Yeah.
Hard to for them to unlearn that and realize that every form of dance and every dancer has a purpose and has meaning.
Ho, ho, ho. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch-alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind-the-scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
Did you think that they did a good job with the dancing, or did it look pretty? Did they do a good job with the doubles and things like that?
Well,
your eyes?
Meredith, the actor herself, she is actually a trained ballerina, and she is fantastic. She's in 2020. I know she started her own company to start bringing ballet to places that would not normally see ballet. She's
Oh, yeah,
amazing.
Silken Kelly is her name.
Yeah, Silken is fantastic.
So it looked pretty seamless to you?
Absolutely, yeah, it was gorgeous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looked good to me, but I'm pretty I'm not a good dancer. I mean, I watch Dancing with the Stars, and usually I'm just like, unless they like do something obviously bad, like fall or something like that, then I'm like, oh, that looked good to me.
Yep. It's funny too. I liked seeing all the Latin dance in it, like the salsa and all of that, because I am not at all trained in that, but it looked so fantastic. But I'm like you in that aspect. I wouldn't know if that wasn't good, but it looked good to a ballerina.
Yeah. It was like I went and saw, this is way back in 2002. I saw the ice dancing at the Olympics, and it was they have one set where they all do the same routine, basically, in the same music, and for ice dancing. And I don't know, the commentators were like, that was terrible, horrible. And I was just like, really? It looked exactly the same to me. But yeah, they say she has that kind of this fantasy routine on stage, Viviana does, and she sort of thinks about and said beautiful moves deserve a spotlight. And we also meet Mateo, who is interested in Natalia, and he says he asks her out, and he says, if you ever get hungry, I'm around. Check the lighting booth. That was cute. I thought he was pretty dreamy.
He was
Mateo.
fantastic. Yeah, I loved them together.
That was fun. And we found out that he's actually an English teacher and hosts the drama club. And she's like, is there anything else that you do in your free time? That was fun. And then he says that his abuela makes the best pasteles in San Juan. So there is in retrospect, I should have had somebody from additional third person on this podcast who is, from Puerto Rico or something like that. But I did like all of the representation. It seemed pretty well done to me. I mean, what do I know? But it seemed like the response on Twitter, there were a lot of people saying, thanks for doing this. I really enjoyed it, kind of a thing. It seemed to be well done to me.
Yeah, again, same as you, I am not of that nationality, so I can't speak on their representation, but I do like seeing that Hallmark is bringing lots of different backgrounds to their movies now. I love that.
Yeah, they may be laying on a little bit thick when they literally have the parents putting the flags all over the tree. Like, I felt like that was maybe a little much, but it's fine. You don't want to be, you want to represent, but you also don't want to be patronizing. But yeah, they have them over for dinner, and he says, we haven't had a chance to talk yet. We need to fix that. That was cute. Do you see there's like a montage of her directing the students, and I thought that was well done. I mean, again, I'm not a dancer, but I thought that it looked pretty, they did a pretty good job. If there were, dance subs for the roles. I thought they did a pretty good job bringing them in and out and making that and Mateo and Vivi dancing together. And there's also the scene where Mateo, Vivi, and their pregnant friend, they do the karaoke.
Yeah, I loved that.
That was fun. Do you have a go-to karaoke song? It's like the United can do.
You know, I always love anything Taylor Swift. So honestly, you could put on any of her songs and I wouldn't even need the karaoke machine. I could just go solo.
Very good. When we have our Hallmarkies cruise someday, we'll have you sing. My go-to is Wide Open Spaces from the Dixie Chicks. It's like right in my range. It's a very easy song. I know it very well. So I just hope that that's always there when we're at karaoke.
I love it. They're amazing.
Yeah. And so Mrs. Cat sees them helping Viv after Viv didn't get the role. And their argument is, well, we're doing it off of company time and it wasn't using the company space. And so they have their arguments, but she's like, you did it. You knew I didn't want you to do it. Could you see her point at all? Or do you think she was just being a jerk?
I mean, I could definitely see her point in the using the stage without asking her. If she is, the head of the company, I would be way too scared to use company property to perform anything else. However, since Natalia was doing so much for Nutcracker, she wasn't falling behind in her work for that. I do think it was understandable for her to work on side projects since she had her work handled.
Yeah, I would think so. But then Mateo steps in and defends Natalia, but then Natalia gets upset at Mateo for defending her and that she can do it on her own. Could you see that point for her? Or
I think it's sweet that he stepped in to defend her. I also understand she was trying to defend her job and was worried that he could make it worse. And I think she was lashing out because she was hurt.
Yeah.
She
it makes sense.
Hurt into this company and then was turned around and told she was suspended. So I can see why she'd be hurt. And that happens a lot in the ballet world.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a risky thing for Miss Cat to suspend her when she needs her for this production.
Well, but like I said, that happens so much in the ballet world. People with power in that world think they can do whatever they want and that they are always in the right. So Miss Cat had her other choreographer in there and she viewed Natalia as just assistant choreographer. And Miss Cat was also hurt because the prior choreographer had left because of another company. But in the grand scheme of things, ballet companies will just let you go when you aren't useful anymore. They feel no loyalty to you, even if you feel loyalty to them. For the most part, there are the few that are good, but they are very few and far between, and certainly not on large international scale.
Yeah. So she says, well, there's a whole world of dance I'm just beginning to explore. She says that to the other choreographer, who is also pretty much a jerk, that other guy.
Yep.
Yeah. And so then there's an event at the Botanicals and Vivi sets up Mateo and Natalia. And she says to him, I don't need protecting or defending, but it was nice to have someone in my corner, which was cute.
I liked that. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought they had pretty good chemistry.
Yeah. They had great chemistry.
For Mateo and Natalia. And he says, you can't always know how someone cares. Sometimes you have to show it. And that's when they are under the mistletoe. And that was a fun moment.
It was so fun. I loved that. I love a good cheesy mistletoe kiss.
Me too. Yeah. And then I guess the previous choreographer, speaking of loyalty, like you said, had been disloyal to Miss Cat and had been training other studios. And so then when she saw that, she freaked out. And so she tells and tell you that I overreacted. I'm sorry. So yeah, that feels pretty real to you about the different studios infighting kind of that you'd get.
Yeah. Ballet is cutthroat. Every company thinks they're the best company. So the second you try to, be part of two worlds, I can see why one of the companies would say nah and cut you loose, or feel absolutely hurt that you would go and be with another company.
Yeah. So then there's a caroling scene with some flirting between Justin and Vivi. And what do you think of them as a couple?
I thought they were so cute together. I love a good musician dancer duo.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's fun. Yeah. I mean, in reality, this Nutcracker would have been going on the whole month of December, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Most companies perform, from the beginning of December into sometimes even into the new year, depending on, what company you are, how big their budget is, if they're touring, or if they only do like, say, 3 weeks. But,
Yeah. I mean, the Nutcracker makes up a big portion of the ballet company's profits for the whole year, right?
absolutely. That's really the show that brings in people who aren't ballet fans, who would come to just any ballet show. The Nutcracker is a holiday tradition, not just a ballet.
What roles have you been able to play in the Nutcracker?
I was a party girl in Los Angeles Ballet's production of the Nutcracker. I got to tour with them and play one of Clara's friends, so that was really amazing.
Cool. Have you ever gotten to play Clara?
No, I haven't. I only did one run of the Nutcracker actually before leaving the Los Angeles Ballet Company's school.
They didn't do it there in Vancouver?
No, the company that I danced with, when I was in their company, actually, it was the middle of COVID, so we couldn't put on our winter production, but they usually do a show of Hansel and Gretel. So I was able to be that one year, and they also do a winter solstice performance lots. Coastal City Ballet is one of the few good companies out there.
Cool. Yeah, like I said, I'm going on Thursday. The Ballet West here in Salt Lake is one of the best in the whole country. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. It's pretty expensive, Ballet West, and so I haven't been that often. It's Broadway level cost. It's pricey to go to Ballet West, but I don't know. I just thought it would be fun this year, and I think that the Nutcracker, not only is it just so iconic for bringing in the holidays and everything like that, but also it's the music is all over the place, including in Fantasia, for instance. There's the whole Nutcracker suite, which is one of my favorite sections of Fantasia, and instead of being nationalities, it's different flowers in Fantasia. Which
my
is fun.
holiday shopping has been haunted by Sugar Plum Fairy remixes.
Yeah, that's right. So you would be a big fan of this sort of Latin take on Nutcracker.
Absolutely. I am all for ballet breaking boundaries and becoming more accessible, and also, supporting moving into a new world where, instead of, like I said before, creating stereotypes of these dances, actually having people from those cultures create the dances around them.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea. In theory, if I was an audience member, I would just want to be warned that that's what I was getting. You know what I mean?
Well, and absolutely. And I think, you can keep it traditional probably, while still keeping it not a stereotype and not
that's
racist.
What I liked. Yeah, that's true. I mean, you can just make it more accurate. I mean, it's just instrumental music, so they can do whatever they want with it.
Exactly. If you had if you had a Chinese choreographer and all Chinese dancers, you could do Chinese tea with traditional Chinese dance. And I think that would be fantastic to see.
Yeah, that would be really
when
cool.
you have a white choreographer casting white girls to do Chinese stereotypes for that dance, that's just not okay, and that shouldn't be happening anymore.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. I did like the fact that they did the remix after as kind of like an encore.
I did like that. They kept the traditional Sugar Plum Fairy, but they also showed what ballet can be in a new era.
Yeah, that was good. That was a good way to handle it. And then they have Justin and Vivi are dancing, and Miss Cat kind of interrupts them, and she has a kind of a new idea of what they could do. And then we also see that Meredith hasn't been replaced, which I was kind of glad because, yeah, she's catty and everything, but she'd put in the work. So I think that she deserved to have the part. But, just because we don't like her doesn't mean that that it should be taken from her,
Exactly. And like I was saying earlier, Silken is such a beautiful dancer. Every time she came on to do some dance, I was like, oh, yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. Because there was a movie a couple of years ago called, I think it was just called Ballet. It was an animated film about a dancer, and there was a kind of a catty girl who was making things difficult for our hero, and like last minute she was out, our hero's in, and she hadn't even been there for like any of the practices or anything like that. And I'm like, I actually don't think that's a great message to send to kids, that like all you need to do is have like the dream. You don't need to put in the work, and then you'll be able to do it, and it'll be great. Because you should be nice to people, of course, but you also need to put in the work.
Yeah, ballet takes a lot of dedication.
Yeah. And you've been able to like do programs at Lincoln Center and stuff like that. Didn't you do a summer?
I did a summer program with the Joffrey Ballet School in New York City, and that was absolutely fantastic. I love Joffrey. They are definitely focused on the new age of ballet, and I really like that.
Yeah, that's really cool. And then we see the show, and they introduce Natalia as principal choreographer. So that's interesting from what you're saying, that would be like a big deal.
Lots of I'm glad to see there are companies now that are bringing women to the forefront. And I liked seeing too in this movie that they're shining a light on those companies and celebrating those companies instead of just, okay, you got your job back as assistant choreographer. It was, yes, you were a beautiful ballerina and you had a great career, and it doesn't have to be over just because she's had an injury or aged out of ballet's defined set of years that you get before you're thrown on a shelf and forgotten because of the new shiny ballerina the company has brought in. So I liked seeing that she got to go on creating art and being a big part of it, even though she wasn't a ballerina anymore. She was still a choreographer and got to hold a meaningful position with the company.
Yeah. Then at the end, the Sugar Plum Twist is performed, and that was a lot of fun, something new and different. And then they have Vivi and Justin kiss at the end, and then we get Mateo and Natalia, so both couples at the end, which is fun.
I loved them.
Yeah, they were cute. Very good. And so, what would you give this movie out of 5 crowns? What would you give it?
Oh, I'd give it 5 crowns. They have to be Christmas themed crowns, though.
What's that?
They have to be Christmas themed crowns.
Christmas themed crowns. Nutcracker Prince crowns.
Exactly.
I'd probably give it I'd probably give it like a 4. I think I'd give it a 4 out of 5.
Nice.
Yeah, it was really solid. I enjoyed it, and I thought they did a good job with all the dancing from what I know, and it was better than I expected, to be honest.
Yeah, it was done really well.
Mm-hmm.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hearty, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies.
Before you go, we have to give you our Christmas questions.
Right.
Are you ready?
I'm so ready.
Okay. All right. What is your favorite holiday drink?
Favorite holiday drink? I love a good peppermint mocha.
Oh, very good. Okay. What is your favorite holiday cookie or treat?
Recently, I found a recipe for brown sugar cinnamon cookies, and they have become my new favorite holiday cookie to make.
That sounds good.
It's
Brown sugar
fantastic.
cinnamon, huh? That sounds really good. Okay. What is your favorite Christmas song or carol?
Favorite Christmas song or carol? Oh, I have to think about this. I love Silent Night. I'm going to be honest. It's a classic. And if you had to ask me, if I could only ever listen to one Christmas song again, it would have to be Silent Night.
Good one. It was written originally to play on the guitar.
Really? I'll have
Yeah.
to try it then.
Yes, it was originally written to play on the guitar because it was written by a German pastor. The organ went out and it wasn't working. And so they needed a song for the Christmas services that you could play on the guitar.
Wow, that's amazing.
There's your holiday trivia for the day.
There we go.
The reason why I know that is because when I was in high school, my fall play one year was a holiday play where we had like little vignettes about Hanukkah and Kwanzaa and Christmas. Anyway, and one of them was a Silent Night play, little vignette. And I had to be the woman running in, the organist. It's broken. Oh no.
Oh, that's
Herr
so-
Pastor, the organ is broken. What are we going to do? Christmas is ruined. So there we go. That was my moment in the spotlight there.
I would have liked to see that.
Yeah, I had that spray, old people spray in my hair, and I had makeup on to make me look old. Herr Pastor, oh no. So there we go. What is your favorite Christmas classic movie?
Ooh, I love It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Who do you prefer, Scrooge or the Grinch?
The Grinch.
Okay, good. That was easy for you.
Well, he had at least some drive to him other than just, bah humbug. At least he was doing something about hating
Yeah.
Christmas.
Plus, if everybody was being super loud, which is what the Who's are, I would be so irritated.
Exactly. He just wants to, that's what he's here to do. He
Yeah.
hates Christmas. He's destroying Christmas. Good for him.
Yeah.
I like that he finds Christmas in the end, but he's
I-
got work ethic.
I say like taking the last can of Who hash is pretty mean, but other than that, I mean, nothing. If somebody wakes me up before, because I have insomnia, once I get to sleep, if someone wakes me up, ooh, it's not pretty.
I love carolers, but if they woke me up, I'd be a little upset.
I would be too. All right, which do you like better, clear lights or colored?
Clear lights. I love trying to make it as close to candlelight as possible without creating a fire hazard.
That's good. That's good. Okay, would you rather be in a snowball fight or build a snowman?
Snowball fight. I'm
Okay.
all about some healthy competition.
Good. All right. Would you consider yourself a good gift wrapper or not?
Oh, I'm terrible. I actually do this thing where I tape up every single possible entry to the gift so that it's hard for people to open. And last year I wrapped my sister's present in about like 15 or more layers of gift wrap. So she had to keep going through to get to the gift. And I threw notes in through every so often through the layers, like almost there, keep going. It was really wonderful. I like to make it an experience.
Yeah, it sounds like it. All right, last question. Do you have an ugly Christmas sweater?
Oh yes. I also have ugly Christmas sweater pants. I
Oh,
have this wonderful sweatshirt that has a cat that's glittery and has googly eyes and it's all tangled up in Christmas lights. Um, which is pretty interesting.
I've never seen ugly sweater pants
Oh
before.
yeah, I won the most festive award for my clothes at my sailing club at our Christmas regatta.
Oh yeah, we got to talk about that. You're sailing. So you do this every single Sunday?
Yeah, so during most of the year, it's actually 3 days a week, but because it's winter, it's technically the off season. We go every Sunday, which is super fun. And recently, my sailing partner for her capstone project in school, she set up a full regatta for us called the Gingerbread Cup. So that was just this past Sunday.
Isn't it like freezing being on those boats in the
It,
middle of
it
winter?
it's freezing. It's very cold. I've got base layers and a wetsuit and all of that, and I'm still freezing, especially when you capsize. It's pretty rough, but
Oh
it's
my
worth it.
gosh. Do you usually capsize or is that rare?
Well, yeah, it happens a lot, especially
Ah!
in the winter. We get the winter winds,
Oh
so
my
it gets
gosh.
pretty intense out there. And I recently got a boat with some of the other coaches at the club, and it's called a 29er. And it's a very large, very intense racing boat, and it is technically too big for me. However, it's really fun because it goes really fast. But when it gets into those winter winds, sometimes it's hard to keep it upright, and I end up swimming more than sailing.
I mean, you're talking like really cold water.
Yes. Yes.
Oh my gosh. You're like doing polar bear swims on a regular basis. Wow.
Yeah,
And
you know what? Good for me. Keeps me lively.
yeah, that's great. And is it just you on the boat or you said you have a partner?
Yeah, so I sail double-handed boats, which basically means that there's two people in it. During COVID, I had to sail single-handed, which, one person. Even though you use two hands, it's single-handed. So I was saying that through the COVID. And then as soon as I got back to being able to have two people in a boat, I jumped at the chance because I prefer crewing, which is basically where you don't steer, you do sail controls, so making sure it's the correct shape, and you're actually in a harness, usually like standing off the side of the boat to keep it flat.
Wow. That takes some guts. That
Yeah,
sounds
it's
like
pretty teasing. It's terrifying, and it's
uh-huh.
so fun. Close to flying as you can get.
Wow. That's cool. I mean, I love being on like a motorboat boat. That's one of my favorite things in the world
Yeah,
to do, but usually not in the winter.
it's fun during the summer. I coached at the club actually, and I was able to drive little dinghies around. So I got a motor for that.
Well, one of these days you need to come down and try the Great Salt Lake because they have
Absolutely.
ocean worthy waves sometimes. And because it's in a valley. And so you get those big waves. There was one time I was out in the, because I swim the Great Salt Lake and I was out in with a few of my friends and we got this sudden swell of wind coming in that we hadn't expected. And I'm pretty good swimmer, I would say. But it was really scary because I was stuck on the it just kept pulling me back in and back in and back in and I was exerting so much energy to try to go forward that I was exhausting myself. And so my friend, thank goodness, like saw that I was struggling and he came over and like kind of helped me to be able to get over to the edge. And then once I got over to the edge, I tried to stand on my legs and my legs were like jello. I could not move. And so it was a very interesting experience. And my, my friend and I were just, joking that we call the Great Salt Lake the Devil Lake because it's really tough. It's a tough lake, and it's 5 times saltier than the ocean.
Yeah, we've got that's
Yeah, I'm not making it sound very fun, but it is actually fun. So if you
I
came
don't
down, we would have a
see-
great time.
Oh yeah, I'll go sailing there. It might be hard when I get splashed in the face though.
Yeah. Yes, that's true. You need to plug your nose when possible.
Yeah.
But it's a very unique because you go in the water and you float. Did you know that in the Great Salt
I
Lake?
had heard of that actually. Yeah,
Yeah.
because of, yeah.
So we'll have to have you over here once because the key time is like June, because that's before you get the bugs and when it's not too cold.
I'll bring a sailboat.
Yes. All right. That sounds good. I love you're such an interesting person who has so many interesting hobbies, and I think you're an incredible young lady. You do the sailing, you do the ballet, you've got acting, that's incredible. So congratulations on all you've accomplished, especially in 2021.
Thank you so much. I don't like downtime too much. I
Yeah,
like
clearly.
moving.
Well, I hope you have a nice Christmas, and thanks so much for coming in and talking about this movie. I definitely would not have had any of that insight as far as the studios and the other parts of the film. So thank you so much for talking with us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for bringing me. I love talking about ballet, so I was excited to get to do this. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, and thank you to Hallmark Crown Media for giving us a screener so that Lilah could watch the film because it was not available in Canada, and Hallmark Movies Now wasn't available. So we appreciate you helping us out on this one and giving us a screener for it. That was very helpful. And Lilah, where can people find you, your social media, all that fun stuff?
All of my social media is Lilah Fitzgerald. If my name is spelled Lilah, kind of different than how most people do it. But it's all just my full name.
Yeah, and you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So please check that out. And also make sure you're following the podcast to Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media. And if you're listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews, 5 stars. It helps us so much. And if you are watching on YouTube, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. We also have our merch store, which has tons of fun Hallmark inspired items and designs. And we have our Patreon group, which is really fun. We get to do those Patreon watch alongs, like what we talked about, what we did with Lilah and watching Daro and Daro. So that was really fun. But there's all kinds of cool things. You get to be part of our Facebook group, and it's definitely worth your investment, and it helps us out so much. So check out the Patreon group. And Lilah, thank you so much, and hope you have a very, very Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Bye, everyone.